Population and settlements. Settlement refers to a group of houses or buildings with inhabitants. Man construct houses and develop settlements to protect themselves against the extremities of climate and enjoy social life. After food, shelter is the most important need of man. In fact, settlement is man's important step towards adapting himself to the physical environment. Settlement is an outcome of collective effort of human beings to utilize the resource of a region. The resources can be natural or cultural. According to social geographers, settlements come into existence when the people come and settle down at a place for utilizing the local resources collectively. Human settlements means the totality of the human community, whether city, town or a village. It includes all the social, material, organizational, spiritual and cultural elements that sustain in it. The fabric of human settlements consists of physical elements like shelter and infrastructure and services also. All these elements provide a material support to human life. Shelters are the superstructures of different shapes, size, type and materials erected by mankind. They construct shelters for security, privacy and protection. It ensures his singularity within the community. Infrastructure includes complex network of amenities developed and designed by man to ensure his quality of life. The infrastructures links people, goods, energy and information. Services cover those required by a community for the fulfillment of its functions as a social body. It includes education, health, culture, welfare, recreation and nutrition. Thus, it is clear that shelters, infrastructures and services makes people and settlement together. The nature and type of resources available in a region is having a significant role in shaping the particular type of settlement there. The precise reason for the formation of settlement is not known. Geographers and anthropologists propose several explanations for the evolution of settlements. The main reason for the establishment of rural settlements are attributed to numerous physical as well as socio-cultural factors. The developments in transportation, communication and way of life of people resulted in direct reflections on human settlements also. Worldwide urbanization also brought tremendous changes in settlement style and settlement pattern. In urban areas, land is a scarce resource. So, they utilize this space more effectively through proper planning. Wide varieties of electronic household equipments are popularized. People constructed settlements for residential and industrial as well as many other purposes. Houses are now considered as an icon of social prestige and people began to invest more money on houses. Section number 2, types of human settlements. We can have different types of human settlements on the basis of distribution style. Compact settlements, semi-compact settlements, dispersed settlements, fragmented settlements are the major types found in India. Let me think about compact settlements. Compaction is mainly the result of human tendency to live together. Compact settlements are found in rural areas as well as in urban areas also. In most cases, It is a combination of several factors that shape a compact settlement in a region. In a rural economy, agriculture is the most prominent activity of the people. Here, most of the settlements are built in center of the agricultural land itself. In order to avoid wastage of cultivable land, people settle together very closely. As the agrarian economy demands more labor force and more frequent interaction of farmers with the field, compact settlements are found to be most ideal. Fertility of the soil also can be a decisive factor of nucleation. The physical features of a region attract or distract the growth of human settlements also. For example, in a flood-prone area, most of the settlements tend to be located in dry areas. They are called as dry point settlements. In Assam Valley, a number of dry point settlements can be seen on the either side of Brahmaputra river. In certain places, water may be a scarce resource. In such areas, people began to settle to very nearby to the source of water. In dry areas, people try to settle near the source of water. Areas suffering from limited rainfall and acute water scarcity cannot support very large number of population. Therefore, people try to settle around an available source of perennial water. They are called as wet point settlements. These type of settlements are most common in deserts. Oases of deserts are a good examples of such wet point settlements. The security of life and property is also a great important factor of settlements. Some of the people consider the elevated hilly regions are most comfortable to settle from a defensive point of view. Such settlements are called as defense point settlements. The settlements found in Naga hills are of this type. This leads to the formation of compact settlements at the top of hills. Areas affected by poor state of law and order or the areas suffering from intergroup clashes also prefer compact or nucleated settlements. Let us see what are semi-clustered settlements. In this type of settlement, the built-up area is less compact as compared to clustered settlements. It may result from segregation or fragmentation of a large compact village. Some sections of village society choose or forced to live a little away from the main cluster or a village. The land owing to a dominant community occupies the central part of the main village, whereas people of lower status settle down some areas outside the village. Such settlements are found in Gujarat plains and parts of Rajasthan. Do you know what is dispersed settlements? Generally, dispersed settlements are found in the regions where the conditions are just opposite to nucleated settlements. If the topography is rugged in nature, the settlements will be scattered. Here, the physical environment is not at all hospitable and there are very little factors of nucleation. For nucleation, there should be a leveled plain to the growth of settlements. Lack of leveled surfaces in mountainous region, nucleation is not possible and settlements are found to be isolated. The areas of abundant rainfall and plenty of water show settlements with high degree of dispersal. If the size of landholding is large in size, people settle in the center of the farm in order to look after it properly. In such areas, dispersed settlements are found in common. Regions enjoying high degree of social security and people perceive little danger to their life and property, also has dispersed human settlements. Let me discuss about fragmented settlements in brief. These are a special type of settlements. In these type of settlements, presence of a number of clusters of houses are located in an area at a particular distance. Each cluster is a form of nucleated settlements. But when considering to the distance between clusters, they are dispersed in nature. Thus, fragmented settlements are also known as dispersed nucleated settlements. It can be concluded that the nature and type of resource available in a region is having a significant role in shaping a particular type of settlement there. Physical as well as socio-cultural factors also plays a decisive role in shaping a different type of settlement in a particular region. You might have heard about hamleted settlement. When a large settlement gets fragmented into several smaller units, physically separated from each other but bears a common name, then it forms a hamleted settlement. It occurs due to social and ethnic factors. These small units of settlements are known as Panna, Para, Palli, Nagla, Dhani, etc. These are different names of hamlets given in different Indian villages. Such settlements are found in Ganga plain and all over the lower valley of Himalayas. Section number 3, rural settlements. Basically, we have two types of settlements, rural settlements and urban settlements. Human activity is the criteria for this classification. The people of rural settlements are engaged in agriculture and allied activities. More than 75% of population are engaged in agriculture. Out of these, the primary occupation of the rural settlements are found to be cultivation. In most of the rural settlements, traditional methods of farming are practiced. Whole family works together in the field. They use very old and conventional methods of cultivation, and mechanization has not yet been practiced. The economy is subsistence in nature. Production is intended for self-consumption. Apart from cultivation of crops, domestication of animals and dairying has become major occupation of peoples in rural villages. In rural settlements of coastal areas, fishing is the major economic activity. Fishing villages are sited on rivers and lakes also. In these areas, people depends water for livelihood rather than to land. Although main occupation of these villages are fishing, this may be combined with some agricultural activity also. There are numerous rural settlements in forested areas in which dominant human activity is lumbering and gathering of forest products. Such villages are generally small in size. Most of the settlements are built by locally available materials. Topography plays a prominent role in shaping the settlement style in rural areas. People construct buildings mainly for residential purposes. Rural settlements are developed in ideal sites with certain locational advantages. Physical environment determines the nature of dwellings. Fertility of the soil, availability of water are the two decisive factors in the location and pattern of rural settlements. Dwellers of rural settlements are so conventional, and it is reflected in their customs and beliefs. The interpersonal relations are more stronger in rural settlements. Let us see some of the problems of rural settlements. Rural settlements in the developing countries have poor infrastructural facilities. Supply of water to rural settlements in developing countries is still inadequate. People in villages, particularly in mountainous and arid areas, have to walk long distances to collect drinking water. Waterborne diseases such as cholera and jaundice are most common problem because of lack of safe drinking water and unhygienic health conditions. Villages are adversely affected by conditions of drought and flood. This in turn affects the crop production also. The absence of toilet and garbage disposal facilities cause health related problems in rural areas. The houses made up of mud, wood and thatch get damaged during heavy rains and floods. Most houses have no proper ventilation. Unmetalled roads and lack of modern communication facilities causes difficulties in providing emergency services during floods. It is also difficult to provide adequate health and educational infrastructure for large rural population. The problem is particularly serious where houses are scattered over a large area. Section number 4, urban settlements. Urban settlements are having a very different picture. People of urban settlements are depending secondary and tertiary activities for their living. Agriculture and allied activities are not at all important in urban areas. Generally, the urban people are leading a very fast and busy life. Increasing impact of modern technology is most obvious in urban environment. People construct more durable and comfortable dwellings with all urban facilities. In urban areas, land is a scarce resource. So, they utilize the space more effectively through proper urban planning. Houses are considered to be the icon of social prestige, and people began to invest more and more money on houses and house facilities. Wide variety of electronic household equipments are used here. Cities became the node of multiplicity of commercial functions. Settlements grow from the city center to the nearby rural areas mainly through a transportation route. Horizontal growth of settlements is not possible in the city center due to very limited space. Then city began to grow towards a vertical dimension in order to cope with the demand for functions. A number of multi-storied buildings are constructed in the city center with modern technology. These buildings are used for residential as well as commercial purposes. Generally, we will call them as skyscrapers. Generally, urban settlements are built by more durable, likely materials rather than locally available raw materials. The constraints of physical environment are overcome by technological innovations. Physical factors are having very limited impact on settlements. Cities are marked with agglomeration of people, building and traffic. Most of the urban settlements are facing the problem of population explosion also. Let us see some of the problems of urban settlements. Over-urbanization or the uncontrolled urbanization in developing countries is due to large-scale immigration of rural people. Decreasing employment opportunities in rural areas is the main factor here. When the urban centers began to offer more and more employment opportunities, the people of rural areas began to rush towards the urban center with great hopes. This will lead to rural to urban migration. The huge migrant population in urban areas create stagnation and generate a pool of unskilled and semi-skilled labor force. Urban areas suffer from shortage of housing, shortage of transport, and shortage of health and civic amenities. A large number of people living in substandard housing. People began to live in slums and squatted settlements. Some of them began to live in the street itself. Illegal settlements, called as squatted settlements, are the main headache for most of the fast-growing urban centers. There are some socio-cultural problems also. Cities in the developing countries suffer from several social ills. Inadequate social infrastructure and basic facilities is due to lack of financial resources and overpopulation in the cities. The available educational and health facilities remain beyond the reach of the urban poor. Cities suffer from poor health conditions. Lack of employment and lack of education tends to aggravate the crime rates. Male selective migration to the urban areas distort the sex ratio in the cities. There are certain environmental problems also. The large urban population in developing countries uses and disposes of the huge quantity of water and all type of waste materials. Many cities of developing countries do not provide the minimum required quantity of drinking water and water for domestic and industrial uses. An improper sewage system creates unhealthy conditions in the city. Massive use of traditional fuel in the domestic as well as industrial sector severely pollute the air also. The domestic and industrial waste are either let into general sewages or dumped without treatment at some unspecified locations. Huge concrete structures of buildings create heat in the city environment. The last segment, settlement planning. The development process will have its inevitable impact on human settlements. The predominant part of population in most developing countries will live in rural areas. Often, these communities suffer from an inadequacy of services of one kind or another. The problems of health, nutrition, drinking water, drainage are severe in most of the settlements. An adequate infrastructure of agriculture and credit services is also a familiar feature of the rural scene, contributing to the persistence of low level of production and hence of incomes. The stress of rapid population growth can, in certain situations, aggravate these problems and impose further strains on rural resources. We have already discussed the role of geographical factors in the development of human settlements. The socio-cultural, historic, and economical attributes of region also plays a decisive role in shaping the settlements. However, in the recent decades, attempts are being made to develop planned rural and urban settlements. In a planned rural settlements, a well thought out plan is implemented with ensuring agricultural development and socio-cultural growth. The physical barriers are regulated with improved technology. The carefully planned rural settlements have many socio-economic and environmental advantages. In the planned settlements, rural land area is utilized effectively and judiciously. Suitable crops are identified and cultivated with improved techniques. Agricultural production will be higher in these areas. There will be equitable distribution of land within the members of the society. The planned urban settlements are also having their own advantages. The site as well as situation of the city will be pre-planned and all the amenities and infrastructures are designed properly. The city morphology is pre-planned and service centers are designed according to it. The residential areas and shopping areas are developed according to a well thought out plan. The network of transportation and communication of a planned city is also aligned in a planned way. People, goods and services are effectively interacted in an urban system. There will be allotted areas for recreation, garbage disposal, agriculture, industry and market. Even though there are certain drawbacks to planned settlements, they can be overcome by adopting flexible and pragmatic planning policies. If people participation is ensured in planning and implementation, planned human settlements can be an ideal human intervention on better and sustainable future.